It began with a letter, a few paragraphs written in haste, and a single signature that would change the course of human history. August 1939. A warm summer breeze swept across Long Island. Albert Einstein, now 60 years old, sat in a small cottage by the water, his white hair uncombed, his desk buried beneath papers. He was a man who had given the world one of its greatest gifts, the equation E equals mc squared, the secret language of the universe. But on that afternoon, his genius became something else, a warning, a prophecy, a weapon. Einstein was not alone. Beside him sat a younger man, restless, intense, the Hungarian physicist Leo Szilard. Szilard had come bearing news and fear. He told Einstein that the unthinkable was now possible, that deep in the laboratories of Nazi Germany, scientists were learning to split the atom, to release unimaginable energy from the smallest particle of matter. And if Hitler's Germany discovered it first, the world might not survive to see what came after. Einstein listened in silence. He had fled Germany years earlier, escaping the same regime now threatening to harness the power of his own ideas. He was a pacifist by nature, a dreamer who believed that reason and science could elevate humanity, not destroy it. But what Szilard described was no dream. It was a nightmare waiting to be born. Together they wrote a letter, not to a university or a journal, but to the President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt. In calm academic language, they warned him that uranium could be used to create an extremely powerful bomb. They wrote that Germany had already stopped the export of uranium from occupied Czechoslovakia, a sign, perhaps, that it was working on the same weapon. Einstein signed it, and in that moment, with a pen, not a bomb, the atomic age began. When Roosevelt received the letter, he barely understood it. Few did. But he handed it to his military advisors, who saw something Einstein did not. They saw not a warning, but an opportunity. Within months, small research groups began investigating nuclear fission. By 1942, it had grown into something far larger, a secret program involving thousands of scientists, engineers, and soldiers. They called it the Manhattan Project. And while Einstein's name never appeared again in its documents, his letter had lit the fuse. As the war raged on, the world changed in ways even Einstein could not have predicted. German cities burned, London fell under constant air raids, and across the Atlantic, in the deserts of New Mexico, a new kind of city began to rise. One without a name, hidden behind barbed wire and secrecy. Los Alamos. Here some of the world's greatest minds gathered. Oppenheimer, Fermi, Teller, Bohr, to turn theory into fire. They worked day and night, racing against a phantom enemy, the fear that Nazi Germany might already be ahead. But by 1944, German science had collapsed under its own ideology. The men who could have built the bomb, Meitner, Born, Einstein himself, were gone, scattered, silenced, or in exile. The Third Reich had the ambition, but not the freedom to achieve it. It was America that carried the torch, and Einstein's letter had given them permission to do it. In April 1945, Hitler was dead. Germany had fallen. The war in Europe was over. But the bomb was not finished. Now the question was, should it be used? Einstein had no part in that decision. In fact, he knew almost nothing of the Manhattan Project. When he learned that the bomb was nearing completion, he was horrified. He told a friend, "Had I known that the Germans would not succeed in building an atomic bomb, I would never have lifted a finger." But history was already in motion. In August 1945, the world witnessed what Einstein had only imagined: a flash over Hiroshima, a city erased in seconds. Then another over Nagasaki. The war ended days later, but so too did something in Einstein himself. He sat in his study in Princeton when the news reached him. The photograph of Hiroshima's mushroom cloud was on every newspaper. Reporters called him wanting a statement. He simply said, "Oh my God." And then quietly, "I could burn my fingers that I wrote that first letter to Roosevelt." For Einstein, it was a moral wound, one that never healed. He had wanted to protect humanity from tyranny. Instead, he had armed it with annihilation. The years that followed were a strange paradox. Einstein became a symbol of intellect, of peace, of the power of the human mind. But behind the smiles and the soft-spoken interviews, there was regret. He watched the Cold War unfold, two superpowers now holding the weapon his words had helped create. The world balanced on a knife's edge, and he could do nothing but watch. He spent the last decade of his life speaking against nuclear weapons, against nationalism, against fear itself. He wrote letters to scientists and politicians, pleading for disarmament. He called for a world government, a united humanity. Ideas mocked as naive, idealistic, impossible. But he never stopped trying. Einstein once said, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything except our way of thinking." It was his quiet confession that he had seen too much of both science and humanity to believe that one could save the other. He knew that knowledge, once discovered, cannot be undone, that genius and destruction are sometimes born in the same equation. And so he spent his final years warning the world, not about the bomb itself, but about the men who would choose to use it. He told students, "Don't worry about your difficulties in mathematics. Worry about the moral ones." When he died in 1955, his brain was removed, studied, photographed, and stored, as though the world still wanted to understand how one man could change everything and still regret it. The story of Einstein's letter is not just about science. It's about fear, about the thin line between invention and regret. It's about how one act of caution can become an act of destruction once it leaves your hands. And it's about how the pursuit of safety can sometimes lead to the creation of the very danger we feared.
In a sense, Einstein didn't invent the atomic age. He revealed it. He showed humanity the equation, and humanity filled in the rest. He opened a door, and behind it was the light of 1,000 suns. Today, we still live in the world his letter built. Our cities powered by reactors, our peace guarded by arsenals. The same physics that gave us nuclear medicine space travel, and limitless energy also gave us the means to end ourselves. Einstein once warned, the splitting of the atom has changed everything except our way of thinking. Thus, we drift toward unparalleled catastrophe. It wasn't the words of a prophet. It was the plea of a man who knew too much, who had seen how knowledge in the wrong hands can become a curse. 80 years later, the letter still exists. A single page, preserved in the U.S. National Archives. Faded ink, a signature. And beneath it, the weight of a century. When you look at it, you might think you're seeing the beginning of nuclear science. But what you're really seeing is the moment humanity realized that it could destroy itself. And the moment one man realized he had helped make that possible. Einstein once said, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything." He tried to warn us. He tried to fix what his letter began. But perhaps deep down he knew that once knowledge is born, it cannot be unborn. That the dawn of the atomic age was not an invention, but an awakening. And like all awakenings, it came too soon.